Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 103 of the 476ers podcast. We're going to talk about game four, last night's game on today's podcast.
Yo. Yeah. Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhyme that are coming from my mind.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 103, I think, of the 476ers podcast. Maybe it's 104, because last time I said 103, I think I remember thinking of a radio station. I could be wrong. But anyway, 104, which is fitting because we should have swept this team and we didn't sweep them. But, we're going to talk about it. You may notice a bandage on my finger. I lost a chunk of my finger on Friday cutting vegetables. It just is what it is. War scars of war, from cutting vegetables, apparently. You lose a chunk of your finger, went down the sink. I'll never get it back. Anywho, here we are. Not to be too disgusting, as I was trying to stop the bleeding. It was a war. It was a bloodbath. It looked like a scene out of some gory thing. I don't know, The Walking Dead in my kitchen. And which is fitting, as we were Walking Dead yesterday. We lose Joel, and, the havoc begins. The havoc begins. Shout out to Prodigy. R.I.P. Prodigy. R.I.P. Prodigy, Mobb Deep. The havoc begins. As we listen, you're going to lose. Sometimes teams are going to get swept. When they're getting swept, game four is always it's always hard to close out a team. You know what I mean? It's always supposed to be hard to close out a team, unless that team is going to roll over and quit, kind of like what the Heat did a couple of days ago. Jimmy, the ultimate leader, the ultimate warrior, Jimmy Butler, shaking on the fucking belt buckle as they just rolled over and quit. Anyway, this is not about the Heat or Jimmy Butler. All right. You're going to run into guys who are not going to roll over, and Russ is not going to roll over necessarily, although in the first few minutes before Joe got injured, it looked like they kind of did want to roll over. We took a 10-point lead early. They looked like they did want to roll over. They're turning the ball over, whatever. Joe goes down. They smell blood. They smell fear. They smell fear, rightfully so. Rightfully so. Because the two all-stars we have, are they all-stars really, though? I don't know. Joe, real quick. That should have been a foul. One. That's a foul to me. I don't know how that's not a foul. All that, ton of body contact. Yeah, I don't know how that's not a foul. But two, Joe, when you go off of 1 foot, it's always terrifying. I can't remember a time where you've jumped off 1 foot and landed in a way that didn't scare the shit out of me. Except for maybe the dunk the other day. You know what I mean? Which, if you watch Joe enough, you know that those dunks, he misses those dunks a ton of times. So he missed the first one. And I was not surprised by it. But then he made the second one. I was actually kind of surprised by it. It was a great dunk, though. It was fantastic. I'm not even here to hate a Joe, because Joe's fucking incredible. So it's not that. But it is terrifying when Joe takes off of 1 foot. He never lands in a way that is good. He never lands. It's like as if you found out that Peter Pan went back and Captain Hook took over Neverland, it would not be good. That's how Joe lands. Now he never lands in a good way. It's a rap bar. He never lands good. It's always scary. And you landed in a way that wasn't scary. It looked like you hurt your butt, but as watching the replay, it makes sense. Your right knee does buckle. It doesn't look good when you go down. That's scary. If we lose him for any extended amount of time, that's scary. We should beat this Wizards team, even though yesterday you would think I would sound the alarms. I'd have Petey Crack on the phone. Ring the alarm. Another hater dying. Oh, boy. You would think I would be ringing the alarm, but I'm really not ringing the alarm. We should still beat this team, I think. Because even though our two best players without Joe are not as good as their two best players, and you can debate with your mother if you'd like, I do think the rest of our guys are better than the rest of their guys. You could say whatever, our team isn't deep, but it isn't deep. They said on the broadcast, our bench, even when our guys are healthy, isn't super deep. Yes, that is true. Even though people love Furkan, so go figure. That is true. But they got Raul Naziro in there playing big minutes with Ish Smith. Isak Bonga played yesterday, I think, for the first time. I don't know if he played. I don't think he played all series. They got a lot of guys that are just, Rui goes from looking like old Melo from the Nuggets to old Melo from the Rockets in the span of the same game. Yesterday, he looked like Kawhi Leonard, locking up. We'll talk about that. We're gonna save our boys for the end. They get they know. They get the end every time. They get the butt of the bread. The culo. You're gonna sometimes lose that game 4. It's difficult. What I don't want to see is Joe go get hurt, and everyone just. I mean, we got so shook. You could it. Once Joe got hurt, I didn't think we'd win. You know what I mean? I didn't think we'd win. There's a couple reasons. One, because now you're game planning. You're in a situation where the game plan changes and all that, which is a real thing, even though this isn't the NFL. So, it's a little tiny bit overblown, but it is a real thing. So I can see things have changed up. Ben ends up in foul trouble. I would say some of those fouls were bullshit. At least one of those fouls I could say were bullshit. I could say 3 of them were fouls, at least, and one of them I thought was ticky-tack, I would say. Could go either way. One of them was definitely bullshit. Dwight, none of your fouls were bullshit. Actually, one of your fouls was bullshit. I'll make, for the first time in your career, one of your fouls was bullshit. So Danny, I mean, Ben, okay, we're gonna get to Ben though, and we're gonna get to Let's start from the top. Save Ben and Toby for the last. Danny, you hit some shots that are of the nature of the biggest dick. I mean, it's incredible. You put your shit on the table and hit crazy shots. But it's funny, you'll never escape that. 37.5%, that's just where you're going to be all the time. On your hottest day, the day you're hottest, your heat wave day, 115 fucking degree heat index. The ground looks like it's melting, waves coming off the ground, your hottest day. Danny, the scorcher, you would just go 9 for 24. No question, you would just go 9 for 24. Where like Clay would go 10 for 10 or 10 for 12 from 3, you're just going to be at 38%. You're just going to shoot a lot of them. You're going to make 38% of them. That's your hottest day. But way to go. At least you didn't look fucking scared or terrified. 3 blocks, 2 turnovers. Yeah, I mean, but it's not your fault that you dribble too much sometimes. And we're so frozen up. I mean, we look like Elsa. Do you want to build a snowman? Everyone is frozen. And you decide you're gonna put the Thanos glove on, but your Thanos glove, it's real life, and the Thanos glove is drawn in a stick figure format. Toby will say for last. Joe, we talked about. I mean, Joe was, he didn't start great. He didn't start necessarily great, but I mean, it was gonna be no question that Joe dominated. He had 6. That was really the problem. In 11 minutes, he had 6 rebounds. You know what I mean? That was too many rebounds up until that point. No wonder his right knee is sore. You know what I mean? He's 6 rebounds in 11 minutes. You kidding me? He's gonna have 18 rebounds in the game? I think not. I think not. God bless him though. I hope he's okay. Hopefully he's okay. I have nothing bad to say about Joe. Even though he has to shoot threes. Well, it's not his fault. We'll talk about that. Seth, I don't know how you're not gonna make. I don't know how you went over 4 from 3. You hit a couple good, nice mid-range shots when we were kind of, again, freezing up. We needed somebody to score. You scored a couple shots. That's all I can really say about you. I don't really know how we're surviving this Seth essentially chasing Bertans around. Bertans was like he got injured. Bertans really held them down in the first half. You know what I mean? He really did hold them down in the first half. Then he got injured. But we've actually done a really good job on him not killing us. Seth has done a great job trying to just stay with him and defend his shot. He's done a good job. Good job, Seth. I don't know how the fuck we've survived that. Bertans has routinely lit us the fuck up. He has routinely lit us the fuck up. So good job, Seth. I need you to make 3-pointers though. So, go figure. Ben, we'll talk about you at the end. George, I thought George Hill looked good. George is probably George Hill's best game as a Sixer. You know what I mean? I thought he looked good. He had a couple 3-pointers. I thought he played solid defense. There was a point where it felt like we were looking at Toby and Ben and wondering, hey, it's like getting kind of late. You guys planning on showing up? And Toby and Ben said 5 minutes. We'll be there in 5. But in reality, they were on the boulevard 25 minutes away. And the bench said, okay, I guess maybe we'll hold it down we'll try to entertain the guests for the time being. And they did a good job entertaining the guests before they lost us. They lost the audience. And George Hill was part of that. Matisse, I thought, played really well, 3 for 6. Had a really nice dunk. It's like sometimes Matisse forgets. It's like Matisse doesn't know his own athleticism, because sometimes he dunks and it just seems like he's like, oh, I can dunk the basketball. I didn't read that's allowed here. Yeah, Matisse. Yeah, Matisse, you can dunk the basketball. It's okay. You're allowed to do that. This is not college basketball in the 70s or the 60s. I forgot when that was. Was it the 60s where you weren't allowed to dunk? 60s, 70s. This is not college basketball where you're not allowed to dunk. Right? You're allowed to dunk. In the 70s, I mean. Tyrese, give me a second on Tyrese because I'm going to blow him in a moment. Pause. Shake, you know, he played basketball yesterday. He had one nice finish that should have been an and one. I'll say that for sure. That should have been an and one without a question. He played basketball. Dwight was a non-factor. Like I said, there's going to be games where Dwight is a non-factor. You know what I mean? It's just in Dwight's nature, especially at this point in his career, where he's going to be a non-factor. All that size doesn't mean anything. All that activity, all of his aggravating nature, it doesn't really mean anything at certain times. And yesterday was the kind of game where it didn't make a difference. It didn't make a difference. The optics of him on that one Russ free throw where Russ misses it, and then Dwight touches the rim, and then Russ starts complaining, and then they pull Dwight out of the game, is one of the more hilarious optics you'll ever see. I mean, it's not the reason why. The reason why we pulled Dwight out of the game in that moment is because they went small. But it was still kind of hilarious that the way it happened that way, as Russ is complaining, as if you break the first free throw. What do you think? Time is moving backwards? Listen, time is a flat circle. I do believe that, but generally, the rim was not shaking when you shot your first free throw. You missed that because you missed that, Russ, because you have a tendency to miss free throws, especially over the last few years. I was looking at his numbers. His free throw percentage has just been declining every single year, essentially. He was at one point an 80% free throw shooter, and if you said that right now, you'd be confused. No one would believe that even happened. No, it's true. Yeah, Dwight, whatever. Furkan looked like good for you, Furkan. You took the opportunity to come in and you played well. Haven't played. You've been out of the loop. You've been out of the lineup. We need somebody on the perimeter to score, and you came in and you scored. Good job. You looked good actually yesterday. You did a good job. Nothing negative to say about Furkan. Furkan looked at the green light like Serrano in Major League. He said, "Fuck you, Joe Boo. If you're not going to help, I'll do it myself." And he did it himself. He did a good job. Again, part of that bench unit that was looking, wondering, they had the bat signal. Batman never arrived, and they said, I guess we'll be cops then. Commissioner Gordner said, I guess we'll just do police work. You know, the old Chicago way, like Sean Connery and the Untouchables. And they did good. He did good. He did a good job. Tyrese is the reason. Mike Scott, listen, Mike Scott, I thought he played okay. He didn't score at all. I mean, he hasn't played at all. I can't remember three three-pointers if I'm being honest, but I do remember a couple good defensive plays he had. He had one steal and one block, but one play where he got switched on Bradley Beal, Bradley just couldn't shake him. I mean, Bradley just couldn't shake him at all. It was really good defense by Mike Scott. I was really impressed. But ultimately, the star off our bench was Tyrese. I mean, Tyrese played in fucking incredible. The only reason why, honestly, we were down 10 at one point. The only reason why we didn't get blown out, arguably, or the only reason why this game was at all close down the stretch was because Tyrese. Tyrese did the majority of scoring in the second half. He was 1 for 2 in the first half. He was 5% in the second half. I mean, he took it upon himself. He hit big three-pointers. We weren't sure about his three-point shot. He goes 2 for 3 yesterday. Has a great fucking defensive play on Russ. He blocks him straight up. I mean, the block was so clean that Russ didn't even complain. Even when guys get blocked cleanly, they complain to the ref. Even when there is no call, they're going to complain to the ref because they're going to complain to the ref. And Russ usually stares daggers at the ref. Russ just looked so impressed by Maxi's defense on that play. He just said, oh, well, I guess I'm just going to – he blocked it off of me. It's the only time I've ever seen an NBA player accept what just happened. It's the only time I've ever seen anyone just accept that this is what happened. And he just, yeah, I guess I did get blocked then. Wow. Tyrese played great. Tyrese was arguably our best player yesterday. He played great. I thought he played good defense. There was one good, even I think after that play or before that play, there was one good defensive switch. It was a kind of a small thing, but they were coming down in transition. And I'm not going to remember the details completely, but rookies make this mistake all the time, or bad defensive players make this mistake all the time. You know, but he did a good job of identifying the right guy, pointing, I think, Danny to a different guy, and they ended up stopping the break. And it was simple. It wasn't like a very obvious stopping of the break, but it was a situation that had Tyrese not done that would have ended up in a fast break bucket. You know what I mean? It was just something really simple that I saw that I thought was really kind of mature for Tyrese to be a rookie and to have really just defined that situation the right way and decide where to go. You know what I mean? I thought Tyrese played great. He was arguably the best player on the floor. It sure as fuck wasn't Toby. Sure as fuck wasn't Ben. I tweeted this earlier, and it's time. Let's talk about these guys real quick. Now, let's talk about Toby real quick. We'll end on Ben. Even though I am going to give Ben some love. In a game where, one, their two best players don't even really have great games. I mean, Rui is the one who baked us. Toby, for as good as a defender as you have been, Rui just yams on you. He gets that technical call deservedly because you're not supposed to do exactly what the fuck he did. You can say whatever the NBA saw, whatever, it's the rule. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Also, that one foul on Ben, that Russ, that should be a flagrant. They didn't even make no sense. Russ is wrapping him up around his chest and caresses his face. It looks like a novel. It looks like a fucking romantic novel, caressing Ben around the face as Ben is going for a dunk. And it's just a common foul. No, that's a fucking flagrant foul. From every rule, from what I understand about these rules, that's a flagrant. I saw Mike Scott get a flagrant foul last year. We saw it. We saw Mike Scott get a flagrant foul last year on a foul that wasn't even a foul when you watched it back. And that's not a flagrant? Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. Anyway. Russ goes 3 for 19 yesterday, 13 for 16 from the free throw line, which is really impressive. 14 assists, 20 rebounds, 4 turnovers. That's actually low for him. Bradley goes 9 for 23. His best three-point shooting game of this series. He goes 9 for 23, which is his lowest shooting percentage of the series, to be clear. On 2-point field goals, he's averaging 56%. You know what I mean? So off of this, that's 7 for 18. That's really low for him. He's having a great series from within the three-point line, as much as all this been lock-up defense. Robin Lopez turned it to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar yesterday, dominated us. I mean, that was just wild, hitting that sweeping, disgusting hook shot. Oh, you know what? I wish Ben had that. The same size almost. In a game where their two best players have shooting performances like this, a combined 12 of 42. Yeah, they made a ton of free throws, to be clear, but 12 of 42 from the field, I mean, that's disgusting. That's disgusting. They shot more shots. They almost shot as many shots as points they scored. That's disgusting. And you can't pull that win out. There's really no excuse there. Toby, you're an all-star. You said, you told us you're an all-star. Right? Didn't you yell that at us, at everyone? I'm an all-star. As you were taking advantage of that Knicks team that was coming off a back-to-back in the first, and it was on an early game, I think. That game that they played off that back-to-back was an early game. They came to Philly, and you're taking advantage of that team, and you're screaming you're an all-star? Hey, now, that's the type of all-star you are. Hey, now, I'm an all-star. I'm a blah, blah, let's. Is that. Because really that's a catchy song. But then when you hold it up to the test of time against other just great songs, you're like, well, yeah, I mean, it's catchy, but is it good, though? Right. That's who you are. Yeah. 8 for 24. I mean, you are routinely. You got, shout out to the homie TJ yesterday who asked me, who wondered aloud. I wonder how many times Toby got blocked. That's just a good question. I could find out. I went on a mission. I looked at the scrolls. I unrolled them. I said, I saw the number and laughed. I said, take a guess. He said 5, close. 6, got blocked 6 times yesterday. Blocked 6 times. He got blocked more than Big K. I don't know if you know who Big K is. He's a battle rapper who blocks everybody on Twitter. He got blocked more than him. He got blocked more than a weird pervert sending weird messages to women on Twitter. Blocked more than that. Blocked 6 times. He got blocked by a Smith. He probably got blocked by Scott Brooks. Scott probably came on and just rejected one. That shit out of here. Take that weak shit out. There were times where I wasn't sure if Toby was playing or if he was at the bodega. I wasn't sure. Wearing Tim somewhere in New York. I said the other day as Jason Tatum was scoring 50 on the Nets, I told Vic the other day, Toby is what Jason Tatum wished he looked like. Because Tatum, your hair, it don't look. I'm not here to just judge what men look like. I know people are going to think that's whatever. I don't really give a fuck. Toby is what you wish you looked like, but Jason is what Toby wish he played like. Toby is what Jason is what Toby thinks he plays like. Toby, you do not play that way. You aren't that. You're not that. You're getting locked up by Ish Smith routinely, getting locked up by Bradley Beal. Meanwhile, here goes our announcing crew. How was that not a foul? He swiped down on the ball on the one play, on the one turnaround. Every swipe down is not a foul. It's pretty simple. When it's a very obvious thing coming, everyone knows that he's about to do this turnaround, and Bradley swipes out right outside of the ball. He may have grazed the ball, but it was just enough to throw him off. Just because it's a swipe down doesn't mean it's a foul. Sorry to tell you. Bradley, who's not even known as it, Bradley was a good defender at one time, to be clear. But over the last few years, his defense has taken a step back, locked him up a few times. Ish Smith, the Ish Smith thing, I mean, it was, I had flashes of watching the 2011 Heat versus Mavericks, watching J.J. Barea stop LeBron cold in his path. Jason Terry cold stopping LeBron in his path. People always forget about that dunk when he dunks on Jason Terry against the Celtics, when Terry's on the Celtics, and people go crazy. The significance of that dunk is that dunk is not impressive. He dunks on Jason Terry. Jason Terry is 6'1", 102 pounds. It's because the 6'1" and 102 pound man 8 months earlier in the finals was absolutely stonewalling him in the post. And here goes this Smith garnering, bringing in bringing in the energy of Jason Terry and JJ Barea and Jason Terry's past, and locks up Toby. Just locks him the fuck up. Toby is simple. If you get the ball at the 3-point line and you have Ish Smith, you say, hold on. Somebody come over here who can throw an entry pass. Take this real quick. I'm about to back his bitch ass down here. And then you're going to give me back the ball, and I'm going to score on him. That's how it works. Whatever you're trying to do, no, you're not that. You just aren't that. You don't have no little back and forth, no nothing shifting back and forth. I mean, even when you watch Carmelo do something like this, you watch him do a bunch of things. It's not just a backing down. It's a fake right, a fake left, a fake right until all of a sudden you're 10 feet from the rim. And they didn't know how you got there. But you're trying to straight back him down. He's just making you uncomfortable. You just got nothing. You don't have anything. You're going to tell me you're an all-star. You think I want to hear you're an all-star when you're doing shit like this? Yeah, you grabbed 13 rebounds. Good job. You had 5 assists, a couple good passes for sure. 1 block, blocked 6 fucking times. I just don't want to hear it. I'm tired of this I'm an all-star shit. 1 for 5 from the 3. That was a really nice three-pointer that you hit, though. But 1 for 5 from the 3, front runners. Front runners. You and Ben, front runners. When Joe's in the game, y'all played great. Once Joe left, I don't know what the fuck happened. Ben, you know what? I'm going to give you credit real quick. Because I've talked about this on this podcast about Hack a Shaq and Hack a Ben, all that entire strategy, right? It's a little bit overblown. Because if you can go 1 for 2 every time you go to the free throw line, that's a win for the offense. Because 1 point per possession in the NBA is good. That's a good points per possession average. Our defense, which we are built on our defense, you went 4 for 8 in that 4 span. And now I don't know what they scored, but it felt like they scored 8 points in those 4 possessions. The 4 possessions that they fouled you, and then in the 4 possessions, their 4 offensive possessions, subsequent offensive possessions, it felt like they scored 8 points. So then it's not going to fucking work then. You did exactly what we needed you to do, which was go 1 for 2. That's the truth. You actually did a good job there after being pathetic from the line all fucking series. After you were 1 for 12 going up to that, you went 1 for 2 down the stretch. That's great. I'm going to give you credit for that. That's great. Way to fucking go. But what I'm not about to give you credit for is that in the 9 minutes you played with Joe, and I tweeted this, in the 9 minutes you played with Joe, you went 3 for 3. And I messaged somebody. Are we supposed to believe, or are we supposed to feel bad that we were calling Ben out for not being aggressive? And we're going to act like he doesn't know that, and he went 3 for 3 in the first 9 minutes of the game? He's being aggressive, calling his own shot. There was one shot, the and one. The and one. Well, look out to the corner. Who do you see in the corner? Wide open is Seth Curry, right? I mean, I've seen Ben make that pass when Seth isn't wide open instead of finishing. And this time, with Seth wide open, he doesn't even look. He says, no, I'm going to take this to the rim. For the first time in his fucking career, what we've been asking for. We're going to act like we're not. We're going to act like he doesn't know. He does know. He's self-aware enough to know. This is what we want. We want you to be aggressive. But somehow, you play 25 minutes. So in the first 9 minutes, you go 3 for 3. In the last 6 minutes, you go in the last 16 minutes, you go 1 for 2. You're going to tell me that's because of foul trouble? You don't want to get offensive fouls? Is that why? Is that what you're going to tell me? I'd rather you foul the fuck out of the game then. Just foul the fuck out of the game if that's what you're going to do. If you're only going to go 1 for 2 down the stretch. For 16 minutes, you're supposed to be our best guy. What? All the little things. All the little things. What fucking little things? See, the little things argument that Doc loves to use, that shit only works when you win. When you lose, hey, where's these little things you was talking about? If it wasn't for our bench, to be clear, which is really, really hard to rely on in the playoffs on the road for your bench to score as many points as our bench scored, that is kind of unheard of, right? You can't really rely on that. If it's not for our bench, we were getting blown the fuck out. There was a point at the end of the third quarter, I think we had only scored 15 points towards the end of the third quarter. And then our bench saved us. I'm not going to hold you accountable for the second quarter, Ben. You only played 2 minutes. I get it. You were in foul trouble. Yeah. But the rest of the game, you played 14 minutes in the second half. You attempted two field goals. You attempted 2 field goals in the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, you ain't shoot once except for the free throws. You want to know how you stop Hacker, Ben? I mentioned this on Twitter too. You force them in foul trouble early, and then they can't waste fouls on hacking you down the stretch. They can't waste fouls on fouling you because now they're taking chances. Their starters are going to foul out of the game. They can't do that. Or now they're playing offense, defense, and they're trying to bring guys in and take guys out and doing all types of shit that makes mistakes, and it's too much to get a team all frazzled and fucked up by bringing guys in to foul and all that. You don't really want to do that too much. That's how you force them into situations. But you actually did your job. But all this defensive player of the year shit on the other side we're giving up baskets to every fucking possession, it feels like. So where is all that? Well, let me tell you where it's at. In today's NBA, and I talk again on Twitter, in today's NBA, where it's so fucking easy to, and I talked about this with Kawhi Leonard a few times. You've probably heard me mention this. There was a whole thing a couple years ago about how offenses were running all of these actions to get Kawhi onto the team's worst player and stuff him in the corner. And now all of the defense that he brings, all of that shit is just, it doesn't even matter no more. He's just out. They got him on Andre Roberson in that corner over there. They put him on Andre, or they put him on an okay three-point shooter over there. Okay enough that if he does get the ball, you can't leave him. So now they've minimized his impact. They completely minimized his impact. All that defensive player shit don't really make a difference. What did Kawhi do? Well, I think Kawhi had some self-awareness of this. He knew that just being a defensive player wasn't going to be enough. He was going to need to score. He turned himself into a great scorer. I mean, the year that Steph won, I think the second MVP, might have been the first. I can't remember which MVP it was, first or second. I can't remember. The leader in three-point percentage was actually Kawhi Leonard that year. As the Splash Brothers were lighting the NBA on fire, quietly, Kawhi was the best three-point shooter in the NBA that year. Not to say that Ben is ever going to become that. Don't worry about that. He's never going to become a three-point shooter. But Ben, and Doc, listen. Okay, that one reporter asked you if you consider taking him out of the game. I'm not talking about him. No one has asked you to bench Ben. I don't know who's asking that. I don't know who's saying that. If someone is saying that, you're cherry-picking stupid fans and deciding that you're going to put every single fan who is just saying what's true into this thing over here with every stupid fucking fan who was saying that we should trade Ben for whatever, for Steph Curry or something, who think that looks like a thing you could do. No one's asking to bench Ben. And yesterday, Ben is not a 40-point scorer. No one, Doc, there are 5 guys in the NBA who are 40-point scorers. There's like 5 of them. No one would look up 40-point scorer in that dictionary and confuse Ben with that person, even though we have seen Ben score 40. But I am never expecting Ben to score 40 again. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. No one's asking that. I'm asking Ben to stay aggressive. That's different. That's the least of things you can ask of him. Be fucking aggressive. Joe goes down, as soon as Joe went out the fucking game, I want to see Ben run full speed and dunk it on somebody's fucking face. And if they call an offensive foul, I don't give a fuck. Send a message. Do something. We looked fucking soft yesterday against a team that doesn't play fucking defense. Listen, I'm not surprised we lost this. I'm not even really that mad that we lost. I'm mad at the nature of which we lose games. Because last year, the first game that Giannis got injured against the Heat, Chris Middleton carried them. He pushed them into overtime and was playmaking everything down the stretch. He carried them. The second game, it was too much to ask of him. Why do I bring up Chris Middleton? Because Chris wasn't an all-star, and I think Chris deserved an all-star nod before Toby did because we had a better record. The argument was for Toby. That's fine, but Chris is a better player. It's not even close. It's not even close. Watch any of those games against the Heat. Tell me that Chris is not better than Tobias Harris. It's not even fucking close. Better defender, better offensive player. I fucked up his skull, shaped in a weird way. It don't even fucking matter. It's for all the extra brain power for his offensive ability. It tells you a lot that teams continuously quit on Toby, right? That Toby's been on so many teams. And this is not to hate on Toby or to re-bring up the contract and all that. I'm not even going to do all that. But it tells you a lot that teams have done that over the years because they know that Toby is good, but he's not really good enough, though. He's not good enough. He's good to add to two guys already. You know what I mean? He's good to add to two guys already. He's good to add to Luka and KP, even though KP, whatever. To Steph and Clay, boom, add Toby. To Kyrie and KD, add Toby. But instead they want to go, we're not going to rehash that. Yeah, to Ben and Joe, you can add Toby, only if Ben isn't as complicated as he is. Only if he's not as complicated as he is. Because you see, Joe makes three-pointers, sure. But Joe is not a floor spacer per se. Yeah, you have to worry about Joe shooting three-pointers. But you're not worried about it like Cat is a floor spacing big man. He is a natural three-point shooter. He's a spot-up shooter. KP, he's a spot-up shooting big man. Those are guys that spread the floor. Ben would fit perfectly next to them. Not to say that I want to trade Ben or nothing like that. I'm just saying Ben would fit perfectly next to those guys. They are big men who space the floor naturally, spot-up shooters. So we're making Joe into a spot-up shooter to aid Ben, to take pressure off of Ben. All right, but that's not actually Joe's natural position. That's not where Joe wants to be. He can do it, but that's not what is the best case scenario for him. It's not the best case scenario for Joe. But you have to do it because you got to compensate for Ben because he doesn't spread the floor at all. And because you're playing 4-on-5 the entire time as long as Ben's in the game. No one's asking for that. I'm not asking him to score 40. I'm not asking him to shoot. I'm asking him in the offseason to work on his free throw shooting. I'm asking him, which doesn't even matter, honestly, because it's so mental with him. It's all mental. It's all mental. It's why Shaq can go in the free throw during the offseason and during practice and go 100 for 100 from the free throw line, go into a game and go 5 for 15. It's all mental. He's never going to shoot. I'm not worried about that. He's never going to shoot. He's never going to pull up. He's never going to shoot threes. We can quit on that shit now. But goddamn, Ben, can you finish a little bit better? Could you work on finishing? Could you work on your post game at all? On developing some semblance of footwork around the fucking post? It says a lot that when he goes on an and one situation, that the ball goes to his right hand every single time. You know what I mean? And the only situation, because people think I'm left-handed. People think I'm left-handed because I like to finish with my left when I play basketball, the professional that I am. But I'm not. I'm right-handed. I just learned naturally a finger roll with my left hand. I can't even finger roll with my right hand, which is weird and confusing. But I'm not left-handed at all. At all, I'm not left-handed. I just like going left. Ben, you look right-handed. But we've been talking about that for years. It's never going to change. It's never going to change. I get the little things. I get the argument. The thing is if Ben is an all-star or this superstar or whatever you think Ben is, if Ben is this top 15, whatever guy you think he is, he can't be that with his game as limited as it is right now. He can't be. He can't be. Ben has some qualities of him that's front-runnerish. Why? It's mental. It's mental. Because against 2 years ago, against a fucking 10-24 Knicks team, he drains that three-pointer in the corner. And I said then, I don't give a fuck about this three-pointer. You've heard this podcast. I've said it on this. I don't give a fuck about that three-pointer that you hit against that trash team. Can you walk into Boston Garden on a big game on ESPN and hit a three-pointer in that situation, even shoot one in that situation. I'd rather you miss the one on ESPN against the Celtics or against the Heat or against one of the better teams than you make this on some no bullshit against a trash team, not the Knicks this year, but against a trash team. I don't care about that three-pointer against a trash team. I care about this. And this team doesn't play defense. And they can take you out the game so effectively. What's going to happen when we play the Hawks? Let me tell you something. DeAndre Hunter, if we play the Hawks, we're going to play the Hawks. Even if Joe is injured for the rest of this series, I don't think we lose to the Wizards. I don't think this goes past. I think Game 5 we win at home. I don't think the Wizards are beating us at Game 5, whether Joe plays or not. And if they do, I'm coming for fucking blood. But when we play the Hawks, not only do we need Joe, but I'm worried about the Hawks. Why? Because they just showed what it's like to lock up a limited offensive player. Julius Randle's been good all year. He was been baking them. They essentially said, hey, DeAndre, go get Julius. Call it a day. Lock him down. And it's worked. And that's going to happen against Toby. Our second best scorer, they're just going to throw DeAndre Hunter on him. And that's just going to be the end. And then they're going to probably put like Bogdanovich on Ben. And Bogdanovich isn't a bad defender. If you watch him, he's not a bad defender. In fact, when the Hawks play, they put Bogdanovich on the other team's best perimeter player sometimes. You're watching the Knicks series, they're putting him on Derrick Rose to hide Seth, to hide Trey. We don't have what it takes to hide, to force Trey into situations, to defend Ben and shit like that. We don't have what it takes. And all that defensive player of the year shit, mind you, Ben does a good job against someone like Luka because Luka's body fits the type that is good for Ben to defend. Against an undersized guard like Trey, we already know what it's going to be. Yeah, that's going to be complicated. I'm worried about that a little bit for sure. Yeah, I'm for sure worried about that. Joe is going to dominate that game. As long as he's healthy, he's going to dominate them. But what's the rest of this team going to do if DeAndre Hunter takes out Toby? I don't know. I'm a little bit worried. That's it. Tomorrow, maybe I'll put out a podcast talking about some of the other series. There's a lot of intriguing stuff going on. For now, we'll stop here. Everyone, wash your hands. You know the drill. Stay safe. Wear a mask. Get vaccinated. Black Lives Matter. Rest of cops kill Breonna Taylor.
Yo. Yo. Justice for the blind. Just something that'll find in the rhymes that are coming from my mind. Used to come